Hello and welcome to a brand new Parry's Pickups. On this episode we're going to be looking at the Wii U again. Yes, I've got a few more Wii U games here. It's 4 to be exact. It's getting a little bit more difficult to find Wii U games that I actually want now. But I'm on my way to having all the Wii U games I want. I'm still looking for a game. I'm going to give a few spoilers away with what's not here. But Tank 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 is a game that I'm very interested in, which you don't tend to see all the time. And then what else have we got? We've got Wii Sports Club as well. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that. Other than those two games, I can't think of much else that I want on the Wii U anymore. I'm going to talk about these ones right now. I picked up Scribblenauts Unlimited, which is an absolutely wonderful game. And other than the DC version of this, DC Comics that is, this is the only home console version of Scribblenauts. A fantastic game where you do puzzles using words. So say you needed a particular object, you just write the word and it appears. And it's very creative and very fun. I have to say this game looks great. You know, it retains that wonderful style, exactly the same as in the handheld versions on the DS. It's got probably more words than any Scribblenauts game before it. It's also got Mario in there as well, because of course licensed characters don't appear, so you can write about pretty much anything in Scribblenauts and it will appear, but licensed characters have always been things that don't. At least in this one you've got Mario on there. Yeah, when I said about Wii U games I'm after, I would like the DC Superheroes version of Scribblenauts, but that was only released, to my knowledge, in America and Australia. The Australian version is PAL, so I could play that, but it's rather expensive now, so that's a real shame. This, however, is going to keep me busy for quite some time. It's got an excellent tutorial, so I think it's one of the best tutorials I've played in a game for quite some time, because it really just teaches you the basics in a really straightforward, direct way and doesn't mess around with anything, which is quite wonderful. You've seen this gameplay footage, how you have to clean the pig. It's one of the first things you do in the game, and then you make a big pig, give it wings, help it win a pig beauty contest or something like that. And that's a great way to show you actually how Scribblenauts works. And so I really like this game. I'm looking forward to playing a bit more of it. Next game is a game I'm not so sure about actually, and that is NBA 2K13, which again to my knowledge is the only basketball game on the Wii U. This is a bit of a problem with the system. If you're like me and you want a game of every type for the system, then you're going to struggle a little bit with the Wii U, because there isn't a golf game and the only tennis game is Mario Tennis. That's not counting downloadable titles, but I don't even know if there's any golf games downloadable that were developed for the Wii U, so for sports games it's quite a limiting system. So this, everything came out sports-wise at the very beginning of the Wii U's lifespan. So this is NBA 2K13, executive produced by Jay-Z, and I bet you're all wondering what that means. It means his music pops up in the game and his image does quite a lot, you know, in little short music videos throughout the menus and introductions to games and such. Hasn't really added much to my experience of NBA 2K13 yet, but I'm sure if you're a Jay-Z fan you're going to appreciate his music being featured here. Now, from the off, this game's very confusing. The menu system, for me, is atrocious. Maybe, you know, it's quite straightforward once you learn it, but you shouldn't have to learn a menu system in order to play a game. It's also, as a result of probably just being a straight port from the PS3 and Xbox 360, they haven't mapped the controls to how you would expect them to be on a Nintendo console. A being select, no, B is select in this game, so that's incredibly confusing. Because you get used to, when you pick up a Nintendo console, using A to select stuff as opposed to B. B would make a lot of sense because that's where the main selection button is on Xbox and PlayStation, but you do, you know, you do change when you're playing a Nintendo. Anyway, you can make your own player from the start. There's some options that are good enough to do that. And then you're tasked with the challenge of finding a straightforward game of basketball to play. I ended up being in some sort of season mode because I was really struggling to find where I could actually just jump into a quick game. So yeah, main system's really bad, controls not mapped out so well. Graphics, man, they aren't amazing. I mean, you have to remember this game was released in 2012. I think it was 2012 it would have been released. And yeah, so you have to think back a few years, but I don't think the facial likenesses are great. But you know, it's good. It's just not got that layer of spit and polish that you might expect. The actual basketball play is great from what I played of the game very briefly. It's still not 100% in the controls. I know there's some more complex options where you can use the analog stick to do certain moves, and you can hold down a button while moving one of the analog sticks to do other things. And you know what, I'm not a big fan of analog sticks being used in sports games so much, other than for moving, of course. You know, when you have it for boxing and golf and others, and yeah, and football, you know, adding that extra touch to your you know, ball. I'm not sure about that, but you know, but basically it does play a good game of basketball. So you know, it could be far worse. So you've got a reasonably good basketball game there for the Wii U. Now then, this next game, whilst I just have a bit of tea, is a game that I used to own actually, but because I wasn't a huge fan of the franchise, I never really spent much time with it. I decided to give my copy away to a friend who I knew really loved Pikmin. I got it really cheap actually, and yeah, so it made a good gift. But over the years, I've warmed up to the idea of Pikmin a little bit more, especially since having played the game with the Wii remote on the Wii. I found that to be a more natural way of controlling the game. So I decided to give Pikmin 3 a shot. You all knew it was going to be Pikmin 3. There it is. It's got a lovely cover, I think, and lovely presentation all around in this game. Nice visuals, nice little setup at the beginning of the game. I think it's a very accessible version of Pikmin. I think over the installments it has become a more accessible game with less restrictions and frustrations. Maybe you could argue that takes away some uniqueness, but I'd say this game still has uniqueness in spades. The basic Pikmin formula is all there, as per usual, but different being in this, there's 3 characters involved in the storyline. You start off playing as one, you'll jump to another, and then so on and so forth. But it's got that typical Pikmin gameplay that I'm really warming up to, and I think this is a great starting Pikmin game if you've never played Pikmin before. Don't think that, oh god, I won't know what to do because I haven't played the other Pikmins, but you will. The tutorial's very well done and integrates itself into the story very nicely as well. So yeah, and having a lot of fun with Pikmin 3, and even if you're not a Pikmin fan, I think it's well worth trying this game out because it's only available on the Wii U. It is a lot of fun, it is very unique, so give it a go. It's relatively cheap now as well. It's not like it's an expensive game like Pikmin 2 became on the GameCube, at least. The next game we have is Rabbids Land, which I bought because it's another Wii U exclusive, sorry, and I was interested in it to find out what it was actually like. This is not a good single player game, as you probably would have already guessed. It's a party game, so therefore when you play single player, you're playing against computer players, and that just isn't remotely fun in any way. So it's a little bit like Mario Party. You've got a board, and you roll the dice, you go on the board, you do mini games every now and again. The mini games in here are rather unique, actually. The first one I played, I was blowing penguins. Sounds a bit weird, I know, but hopefully the footage will explain exactly what you're doing there. But you're moving the gamepad around and then blowing into the microphone to blow penguins away, but it doesn't really introduce the mini games very well, and you can be left thinking what you have to basically work out what to do based on the little description you get at the start of the game. And first time you play some of these mini games, I imagine you might have trouble understanding the mechanics of them. The other mini game I got to play was a lot more interesting, and that was because it's Rabbids Land, it's a theme park. The mini game we're playing as a park attendant, and you're securing all the rabbits in their seats for this ride. So you have to swipe across the gamepad to turn the view around so you can see all the rabbits, and click on the ones you want strapped in properly within the time limit before they start the ride, so none of them fly off. And I thought that was funny. I mean, I really like the humour in Rabbids, and of course it's here in spades. It's wonderfully comic and really fun. It's probably quite a limited game because there's only one board to play on. The idea is you get 10 or 20 trophies by doing mini games or other events around the board, and then you have to get to the middle, and the first one to do that, I guess, wins. It's very simple. There's not a lot to it. When you first start the game, you can't play the mini games on their own. You can't jump straight in and play the mini games. I think you have to play through the board game mode in order to get those mini games. So that's a bit of a shame if you want to jump in this single player and just play some mini games. No, you've got to either play through the single player with the computer, which isn't the greatest time, I have to say, or make sure when you play this, just get some friends around and enjoy it together. Because I think this could be quite a good multiplayer game. It depends on the quality of the rest of the mini games. I say so far it's a bit hit and miss from what I've seen, and that there isn't, as I say, a lot to it in terms of the board that you move along. But it's all right. I mean, I wouldn't break the bank on this game. So if you see it cheap, it's probably worth a go. If you do play party games a lot, there's nothing really here for the single player. So unless you want a multiplayer party game, don't buy it. Which is fairly obvious, I think, anyway. So that's it for this episode of Parry's Pickups. Hope you've enjoyed that little Wii U special. Might do another Wii U one in the future, but I think we're going to get back to a little bit more of the random games episodes, as now I'm in Denmark and I haven't got this stockpile of games I can collect together and do these separate features on. There will be a few more for maybe at least the next week, but eventually we will return back to the random games assortment, so you'll never know what to expect. But thanks again for watching the video, and I shall catch you next time on the next Parry's Pickups. Game on!